On today's episode of Refashioned podcast, we're talking about a pretty funny response from a brand to the rise of dupes and counterfeiting culture threatening their business model. A pretty worrying trend I've seen on TikTok lately and how I think it's creeping into fashion. Another trend taking over the wider cultural zeitgeist that I think we should all be talking about and aware of. And we're all going to play along to a fashion bingo at the end of this episode to see if we like what we wear. Or in other words, have fashion self-conduity. Whatever that means. Lots to discuss, so let's get into it. Before we do, welcome back to the podcast Refashioned, where we kind of yap our way through topics going on in fashion and in the wider social space. If that sounds good to you, then make sure you subscribe to whatever platform you're listening to this on, be that podcast format, or if you're watching on YouTube, then subscribe to the YouTube channel. Before I give you the debrief on any new trends or anything I've been reading or like anything we're going to talk about today, first, I have to fangirl with you for a minute. If you follow me on Instagram, you might already know, but literally the other day, I was just reading through my email newsletters and what do I see but a business of fashion article talking about the rise of food marketing in fashion brands. And I kind of had this like premonition because most of you will know I've done a video on this in the last couple of months, I would say, that did reasonably well. I don't know, I kind of thought like, oh my God, what if they reference my article? I wasn't like expecting it, but I was like, there's a chance here. So anyway, I clicked on it, I read through, and my name is in the article. They have referenced my video in this business of fashion article. And if you know me, you know that this is a massive deal to me. I reference business of fashion in pretty much every single video I do. And to have my words, to have my video referenced and put into context for a business of fashion article is just like a major career milestone for me. Like I genuinely, my fiance was in a meeting, so I couldn't scream. I was like silent screaming at my computer. It was insane. As soon as he was off the meeting, I was running in there yelling. Like, I'm not afraid to admit I was fangirling so hard. Genuine career highlight for me. And like not something I've massively experienced before, having a big publication use my words. I did actually, this is a tip that I haven't really spoken about. I had a writer from the Wall Street Journal reach out to me a couple of weeks ago asking for an interview to talk about the video I'd done on recession indicators in fashion. They just wanted me to expand more on my thoughts, I guess, and interview me, but it didn't end up going anywhere, sadly. That was a really exciting time for me. I like screenshotted the email as well of the interview request, Wall Street Journal, but it didn't end up going anywhere. And I was kind of disappointed with that because, again, seeing my name in print for big publications is something that just like as a journalism student was always a dream. And yeah, it would have been amazing to go in the Wall Street Journal, but having my work referenced in Business of Fashion, a publication that I wanted to work in from when I was doing my uni degree and like even considered applying to, but thinking, oh, maybe I'm not like qualified enough. I don't have a business degree. I just have journalism degree. All of my sustainable fashion knowledge is self-taught. Like they're never going to accept me. From going from that and kind of like accepting the fact I wouldn't work there to having my words in an article, even if it's just like a little paragraph, is insane. Like I had to share it with you guys because it's genuinely been the highlight of my week. Maybe even my month, maybe even my year so far. That was the news I wanted to share with you guys. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is another exciting kind of career highlight. Basically, I'm going to the Sustainable Fashion Conference happening in Copenhagen, which is probably the biggest sustainable fashion conference in the industry right now, I would say. Again, I've always wanted to go. I've always had a curiosity around these conferences, which seem very closed door. And I kind of applied to do press there thinking I would get shot down. And I kind of did have to sell myself. They asked me where I'll be writing for. And I said, I wouldn't be writing. I will be covering it for my YouTube channel. And the main reason I wanted to do it was because I thought that you guys, like me, would have an interest in what happens behind these closed door meetings and very kind of secretive, I would say, conferences. So I wanted to go inside and show the public what was happening there, what was being discussed. And the fact that they accepted me for that was, again, another career highlight. I did not think that I would be getting a yes, if I'm honest. So anyway, I'm doing that in a couple of days. I'm going to be covering the summit in a dedicated video on YouTube, and maybe also doing a vlog of Copenhagen again. I'm going with my mum, and we're going to try hit up some really good like eating spots and thrift stores and stuff. So let me know if you guys want a vlog on that. I'm kind of debating it, but I'm going to be covering it also in dedicated like roundup videos for Patreon. So if you guys are now following me on there and you're subscribed to the channel, then you can kind of get a daily update on what's happening, what I've seen, my like initial reactions. I thought that could be kind of fun, a fun little thank you to everyone who's subscribed to Patreon so far. So yeah, if that's something that interests you, then make sure you're subscribed on that platform. And without any more ado, because I feel like I've yapped on already for ages, let's get into the stuff I want to cover for the podcast that I think you'll find exciting. Okay, starting with that first topic I teased about, a kind of update to the rise of dupe culture and counterfeiting, and like the response from brands that are threatened by some of the risks they bring, I guess. Basically, there's also been this tangential rise in people sending these dupes to resale platforms in order to, you know, make money off them, pretend they're the actual luxury goods. It's not a new issue in the industry. Obviously, we've had counterfeit goods for a while now, but I do think the rise of dupe culture and the increased awareness and normalization of people buying goods that look really similar to one thing but just slightly different. And I know brands have been worrying about more and more of these cases cropping up. Most of them aren't really doing anything except increasing their counterfeiting measures to make sure that both sellers and buyers can't get away with loopholes in the system. But Vestiaire Collective is one of the brands that I think are trying to actively tackle this in ways outside of their own system, and I kind of want to talk about it. I'm a big fan of Vestiaire Collective's marketing strategy because I do think that they have a way of making things feel quite lighthearted but also educational and like visually interesting. I mean, doing it in this way is not only pretty humorous, but it ensures that the people watching this reel will get the implied message that Vestiaire Collective goes through rigorous checking for all of the products they allow on their site. Maybe not this rigorous, this is obviously a little bit embellished, but the message still comes through that they're taking it seriously, and you can almost shop with a peace of mind that hopefully they would have caught out a fake. Like, I feel another way they could have gone about this was just putting up a like text grid post that just said, we know there's a counterfeit issue. We are very diligent in checking everything that comes through our store to make sure it's real. Like, that would have been fine. That would have told consumers what they needed to know. But would consumers have paid attention to it? No. Like, this is just good marketing. This is interesting. It had a lot of controversy in the comments. People saying like, well, the real suitcase brand isn't that sturdy. So what if this was actually a real one? Or someone else said something like, what if the person that sent in this fake wanted their item returned? I just think it's really interesting. It causes discussion, I think, which is an important part of, you know, getting people interested in sustainable fashion. This feels playful. It feels like interesting. It feels almost, dare I say it, like a fast fashion brand's way of approaching something like a hard issue that they have to talk about. They also did an influencer event that was centered around this same issue, which I thought was really interesting. They basically said that they invited members of their trust circle to join them from an intimate dinner, complete with a game of a fashion whodunit. The mission, figure out which guests have been given a counterfeit bag. And they let their followers play along too, because they didn't reveal the answer in this post, they revealed it in their stories. So people would have to, you know, seek it out. People could play along without seeing a spoiler. And I think that was really interesting. I would love to know what one you guys think is the fake. I think my money is going to be on the Birkin. There's something about a Birkin, I think, that's quite easy to fake. I mean, that YSL bag that one influencer is holding, if that's not fake, then I would get my money back. It looks really uneven. But I wonder which one it was. Oh, people in the comments are also saying the Birkin. Okay, someone also said just all of them, which I feel like very much articulates people's responses to luxury fashion today. I don't actually know the answer. Maybe we'll never know because it's not in the comments and this story is gone now. This was like earlier in the month. So anyway, I think the idea of making this an influencer event is very, very interesting and ties into the video that I'm going to be putting out later this week about this exact thing. So keep this in your mind for that video. I mean, clearly this is an issue that fashion is going to have to deal with. I don't even know how they're going to go about it, but as dupes continue to rise and counterfeiting becomes more and more normalized, the resale market is going to have to come up with better systems to authenticate what they're selling. I mean, I spoke in the last podcast about the Essence scandal and how that's really tanked their reputation because of multiple cases and the virality of the issue on TikTok. Like, if this becomes a well-known issue in resale, then it could stop the growth the resale market has been seeing lately. So clearly it's something that brands need to be addressing, whether they're doing it very publicly, like the way Vestiaire Collective is, and making it into a marketing campaign, and also kind of trying to, like, I guess, humorize and stigmatize it at the same time. That could work. Or if brands are just doing a boring but fine marketing campaign talking about their authentication systems, I feel like it's something that they need to address sooner rather than later, because consumer confidence in luxury is already on the floor. So I'm going to be interested to see how resale brands try to navigate this going forward. Even, I guess, with the recent example of the Chinese manufacturers saying they were producing for luxury, all of that like fake news scenario, that could have led to a bump in people buying counterfeit. I wonder if that's already bumping up this curb of counterfeiting issues in resale. But for now, that was what I wanted to share with you guys. The next thing we need to talk about is kind of like an "is it just me" ask, because I want to know, is it just me, or are you guys seeing a really aggressive push towards skinniness, specifically on TikTok? Because I know that obviously pop culture has moved to this and like Ozempic is a thing, but specifically skinnytok just like filling your algorithm. I mean, because I'm bringing this up, you can obviously infer it's an issue for me. I don't really engage in any kind of like, I would say like workout videos, dieting videos. I'm never really one to engage in any of that stuff online at all, but it's just been filling my feed. Even when I swipe away from the videos, even when I click like not interested on the videos, these keep popping back up on my screen and it's really stressing me out. I did actually end up searching this up because I thought I was going crazy, but no, this is a thing that's happening on TikTok especially. And I read this article actually that was talking about it from The Cut. I think it was. The Cut always do the best articles. It was called "The Influencer Inspiring Girls to Eat as Little as Possible." And I don't want to use the influencer's name because I don't want to draw traffic to their website at all. But if you want to go read the article, you can know who it is. Basically, it was talking about how this influencer has built a subscription-only Instagram group chat that's basically pushing eating disorders and normalizing eating disorder behavior for like the group. Now, I may be wrong on this. I saw in another YouTube video that since this article came out, she's actually been banned off or demonetized off Instagram, and the group chat is no longer a thing. But this is not the first time she's been kicked off a social media. She was actually kicked off TikTok after the Wall Street Journal asked the platform for a comment about her content. TikTok kicked her off. Now, since this Cut article has come out, Instagram has sanctioned her in some way. I'll put on screen what they've done. But before, with TikTok, she actually made the ban a part of her brand. And I'm sure she's going to be doing this with Instagram now too, making the argument that she's a victim of censorship. And she's been backed up by that. Basically, in April, a conservative women's magazine ran a feature on her with the title "Banned for Being Honest," which, you know, I think tells you a lot about how this is being treated by a certain corner of the internet, and also its kind of segue into fashion. Obviously, the rise of skinniness in pop culture has already been linked to the rise of old money and conservative ideals, so her being featured in a conservative magazine is not a surprise to anyone. And neither really is this increase in videos promoting skinniness on TikTok. I mean, skinniness has always been glamorized, but I guess I'm really quite surprised on how much this content keeps creeping up on me despite my like literal swiping away, not interesting it, not engaging in any way. It just keeps creeping back up. Maybe because I'm just consuming fashion content and it feels like because I like fashion, I'll like these videos that are glamorizing a very skinny figure. And honestly, again, none of this is really new. So the reason I kind of wanted to talk about it is not to tell you this is a thing. I'm sure you're aware this is a thing. It's to kind of explore how I think this rise of glamorizing a lifestyle like this, and specifically this influencer that's been interviewed by The Cut, her rise to fame, has been very much helped by the culture of TikTok, like the rise of cause and the rise of people buying into lifestyles or personalities. means that we're very susceptible to someone selling skinniness as a lifestyle or a personality or something that you can make your entire aesthetic, at least for a while, because we're so used to that with fashion trends and, other lifestyle trends like the 75 hard. It's just one more example of this platform being so influential, so good at getting past any defenses we might have and convincing us that what we're seeing on screen is a good idea because there's someone in front of the camera telling you it's a good idea. So it kicks off those parasocial ties in our brain and, lowers our defenses in a way. I mean, from a direct quote from the article, in this influencer's world, thinness isn't a physical state, but the basis of an entire luxury lifestyle. So you can see how easily that fits into the macro trends on TikTok right now of old money, luxury, and just trendcore. It's also the language this influencer is using that comes directly from the TikTok playbook of convincing someone that something is a good idea just because you're positioning it as such in the subtle ways you talk about it. Like some of the stuff she says, eat like you're the main character because you are. Or this other one where she says, you're not restricting, you're regulating. It's chic. Could these words not be talking about a fashion trend rather than literally something you're doing to your body and something that can have damaging effects if you take it too far? Saying something is chic or that you're making yourself the main character by doing something when that thing is eating less, it's weaponizing the language that we've become so familiar with. And TikTok culture is entirely to blame to that. It's entirely to blame for the way we now all talk to each other like we're selling them something, that we're trying to make their lives better by doing this thing, whether that is like a new top, a new scarf, or whether that's counting your calories and not eating as much as you need to in a day. And I think there needs to be so much more research and so much more discussion about this online, how we've allowed TikTok culture to get to the point now where it can be weaponized to sell each other anything. And TikTok banning her content is great, but the entire culture of TikTok needs to be, not going to be say banned, but like reformed. We need to start waking up to the fact that talking to each other like this is not normal. It's very dangerous. It has major implications if used in a particular way. And as someone whose work is very much online, I feel very passionate about this because I see it all the time. And, for this particular instance, it's been really annoying me to keep having these like skinnytok videos popping up on my screen and starting to see some of that behavior emulated in my real life. Like this mentality I've noticed has started to creep in when I'm like putting my lunch together. Before now, I didn't think like this, but it's just started to become part of my everyday life and it's frustrating. So the whole basis for this like segment was asking you guys if you've started to see this too, but I'm pretty sure we've all started to see it. I'm pretty sure it's just a macro shift on social media towards promoting a certain body type. But I think it turned into more of a talk about how the language we use online has set a dangerous precedent for romanticizing or weaponizing any trend into, becoming that girl or framing something as empowering. The way TikTok works means that you have a certain dynamic when you're saying these videos that people are more likely to believe you without questioning. And it's really frustrating. That's maybe the 5th time I've said the word frustrating for this segment. So we'll move on before I get way too worked up. I want to say we're moving on to a happier topic, but I would be slightly lying. I don't think it's happier. I think it's interesting. Basically, I read this Substack essay, which was amazing. It's called The New Americana Edgelord Aesthetic by Janae Phillips from Fashion Tings. That Substack is great. Again, recommend you subscribing if you haven't. And it's all about how this new trend that seems really silly is actually an indicator of deeper things happening in society. And it links back to this idea that fashion is inherently political and you can't really argue otherwise. But we need to break this down. Starting with the idea that if you don't know what an edgelord is, which I didn't, so no shame, it's a person who affects a provocative or extreme persona, especially online, and it's typically used of a man, which is a little tidbit that I wasn't going to add in, but it's important here because Janae wasn't talking about a man when she was giving this new example of an edgelord. She was talking about Kim Kardashian, specifically her cover for Perfect magazine. As she described it, Kim was posing alongside alongside a gleaming Tesla humanoid robot, with Kim looking like a post-ironic Stepford wife. It's a tableau equal parts dystopian and aspirational, an aesthetic marriage of the Old West and a Silicon Valley future. Janae also gave a couple of other examples of this trend, but this was the one she really focused on. This was the one that kind of drew me in, because as she goes on to say, this isn't just an example of Kim Kardashian doing something a little bit out there, for the press, or a marketing stunt that isn't really thought through. This is quite a deliberate move forward into this new trend she's called the new Americana edgelord aesthetic. Now you might ask, what is that? Why is the title so weird? Basically, again, according to Janae, it borrows from the cultural imagery of rural America. Think pickup trucks, gas station chic, oversized belt buckles, and injects it with a tech-forward, elite-coded wink. The edge comes not from political ideology, but from the performance of danger, rebellion, and norm-breaking in a post-ironic, algorithmically aware context. It's aesthetics without the politics, allegedly, 2000s irony without the optimism. And I think that last sentence there is really, really interesting. Because as Janae mentions, although Kim Kardashian is kind of posing on this cover in what seems to be a very suburban setting, she's dressed to the nines while this weird AI robot lounges in a pool chair next to her. And it all feels vaguely conservative, vaguely housewifey. The idea behind the trend is apparently not political, but you can't have fashion without politics. Everything in fashion is inherently political. It's like that scene in The Devil Wears Prada where they're discussing why the sweater she's wearing is that specific shade of blue and how it's filtered through the lens of all of these different catwalks and decisions by major designers. And then it's finally been picked up by her in a supermarket, and maybe she doesn't understand the reference, but there's no escaping how it got there in the first place. This magazine cover is an amalgamation of everything that's been happening in politics, in society, in the world for the past few years. And to say it isn't inherently political is just closing your eyes to all of that and asking people to not be that deep because you don't want to analyze it. Janae explains this perfectly, actually. She says, when Kim Kardashian sidles up next to a Tesla robot, she isn't just modeling, she's co-signing. A woman whose every sartorial move is calculated for maximum traction does not accidentally end up embracing Elon Musk's brand of a dystopian futurism. This cover doesn't just accessorize with a Tesla robot, it mythologizes Musk himself. It says, this is sexy, this is cool, this is the future. I mean, simply putting an AI robot on the cover of a fashion magazine is a political move. Let alone this image, which seems to be displaying a glamorized version of rural America. You have to be blind not to see the politics here. I only have one more thing I want to talk about because I am getting ready for Copenhagen, so I can't do too much of a long video. But basically, I saw this fashion bingo card from Fashionist Psychology Instagram account, and I kind of wanted to play with you guys. I wanted you guys to play along while I'm doing it, so I'll pop it on screen. I wanted to play this one because when I was doing that other podcast episode last week, and I spoke about how people were co-concepting a trend live and talking about the lore behind a trend, I also mentioned the fact that I haven't been happy with my wardrobe, and that's been a theme that's been running for the last 3-4 years. But even though I've been taking steps to fix it, nothing really seems to be getting better. And when I saw this Instagram post, I kind of had a moment of maybe I should think about this for a little bit, because this could fix my issues. This could help me examine the root cause. So I didn't play it yet. I wanted to play it with you guys on the podcast, but I have a feeling I'm going to score really poorly. First, I feel confident and authentic in what I wear. Sometimes I do. Most of the time I would say no. One of the steps I've been taking for tracking this, trying to make some changes, is I'm doing an outfit tracker that I've just set up on my notes app. Basically, I'm describing what I'm wearing every day and tagging an emotion to that, whether I'm happy with it, whether I'm neutral with it, whether I don't like it. And then I also have to identify what my favorite part of the outfit is, or what makes me like it. And that's kind of been a exercise that's actually been helping me to identify what's happening every time I get dressed. And in the long term, I'm hoping it can improve my wardrobe and then help me to either come to terms with what I have, or, let go of the items that are never making me happy, and hopefully make room for some items that do. So anyway, long spiel to say that for the first one, I'm not going to take it off. For the second one, my outfits reflect my personality and values. I wouldn't say they reflect my personality. I think a lot of my clothes are old, from uni days or even earlier than that. And they are reflective of that time in my life rather than where I am now. And I think I've changed as a person. So I don't think they reflect my personality, but I do think they reflect my values, because a lot of my wardrobe is secondhand. A lot of it is from small designers, if it's not secondhand, or, you know, I've held on to it for so long that it's almost retro now for how long I've had it. And I do try to take care of my wardrobe. So I feel like this one would be a half tick. Can I do that? A half tick. I'm going to do that because otherwise I feel like I'm not going to score at all. But number 3 box, shopping feels natural and intuitive. That's a no. That's just an easy no. I never know what I want. I'm trying to work on this with the tracker I've been taking and, you know, having wish lists for things. But no, I'm never sure whether I want something, or I'm almost never sure. There's exceptions like my Boo bag from Garni. I knew as soon as I saw it, I wanted that bag. But yeah, mostly no. People often say that outfit is so you. Maybe for a few things. I don't actually think many people have ever said that to me, to be honest. I don't think I've had that kind of comment for the last 10 years. So that's kind of an eye-opener. As is the next one, I never feel like I'm wearing a costume. I feel like I'm wearing costume all the time. I feel like I pick a vibe for the day and I build around that because it's easier than just having to put pieces together based on nothing. I think the next one as well is a no. I don't dress for myself first. I dress for YouTube mainly. Like when I'm filming, I dress for what I think will be cool on YouTube, and I have a lot of anxiety about that. And I guess I really just want to wear something that looks cool on camera, or if I know that I'm not going to be on camera, I dress in really comfy clothes because it's almost a break from the days that I have to dress up. I often dress for the person I'm seeing, or for the event I'm going to, or for the thing I'm doing that day, rather than just what I want to wear. And I think maybe that comes partly from not knowing what I want to wear at all, or maybe not having the options for what I want to wear. There's a lot of self-enlightenment going on. I think so far we've only scored half a point and we're on the last 3 boxes, so not doing well. Next, I can describe how I like my clothes to make me feel. I have to think about this one. I don't think so. Not really. I know people have done the 3-word method. I've never really felt like that was helpful. I've never really done that for my style. And I feel like anything I would say would be really vague. Really. I mean, I know that I would put comfortable down as one of them, but I also think I would have a contradiction of wanting to be stylish. And obviously stylish is based on trends that are constantly changing. So when you say you're stylish, how the hell do you measure that? I find it really hard to define, or I guess put myself into 3 boxes for fashion. I don't get how people do it. It's a very big commitment. This is exposing more about me than I think just my fashion. Next box, my clothes feel like an extension of my mood and my mindset. I guess to a certain extent they do, because I often dress for what I know I'm going to do that day. So I know that I will dress up a bit more for YouTube because I want to feel that confidence on camera, versus I will not dress up when I'm not on YouTube because I want to be comfortable and give myself that feeling of a break. So I think I could confidently say this one. This might be the only full tick we have for the entire thing. And the last one, I feel at ease in my clothes physically and emotionally. I'm being honest, no, I don't. I feel like I have some outfits that do feel good in the moment, or, for a specific event or that day, but never do I have a consistent run of clothing where I'm yeah, I feel good in this. I feel at ease here. So I think that's all 9 boxes and I scored 1.5. I think that shows I have a lot of work to do. And I guess this year, like I've said before in other podcasts, other videos on my channel, is the year I'm kind of taking to really focus on my wardrobe, to allow myself to do some shopping, which I often don't. I often feel a lot of guilt over that. But this year I've kind of given myself some space to improve and update my wardrobe in ways that I think are sustainable, obviously, but not as restrictive as I've been in the past. But yeah, clearly this shows that I'm not there yet, and a lot of these prompts I feel could be good for keeping in mind in the future. Asking myself all of these questions for that one piece I think would be very enlightening. And if you played along with me for the bingo, then drop your scores in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts, what you have to work on, whether you aced it, because I feel like so many people who follow me on here are really comfortable with their style, and I absolutely love that, and I want to learn from you guys. So drop your tips on how you became comfortable with your style, if you scored really highly on this, or if you didn't, confident, if you're like me, you scored like on the end of the spectrum, then are you taking any more steps to like fix this issue? Because I'm always open to tips. Clearly I need them. But yeah, with that, that is the end of this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too Debbie Downer. I feel like we get into deep topics in these podcast episodes, but it's also really cathartic, I feel, and I tried to do topics that I feel like other people will be experiencing in some way or other. So you might have also been seeing all of those skinnytok videos and maybe not acknowledging it, but kind of slightly internalizing it like I was, and maybe this will be enough to snap you out of it and, you know, recognize it for the kind of harmful content that it often is. So I hope that's the case. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I will speak to you guys really soon. Look out for that Copenhagen content on Patreon and the video I'll be doing on it for the main channel. But yeah, I'll speak to you really soon. Have a lovely day. Bye.